All right, welcome everyone to part one of Introduction to Excel 2016. This is a CIS 105 course, and this is your data analysis course in Excel. I will be your instructor for the remainder of this course. This is part one of a 10-part series of introducing you to Excel and all that Excel has to offer. So before we continue, let me just kind of briefly go over the agenda with you guys so you guys can see exactly what we are going to cover today, okay? So I'm going to do a quick overview of the Excel workbook. I'm going to do a quick overview of the Excel worksheets. I'm going to introduce you to some of the few formulas that Excel has to offer. We're going to talk about entering formulas using the keyboard. I'm going to show you how to enter formulas using the point mode. We're going to learn how to use and apply the sum formula, the average formula, the max, and the min formula. In addition to that, you're also going to learn how to verify formulas using the range finder, which will be very helpful, especially if you're checking and making sure that your formula is accurate. I'm going to teach you how to check the spelling in a worksheet once you create that worksheet. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to create what's known as a clustered cylinder chart, how to make it look presentable in the business environment, so to speak. So without further ado, let's continue. So let's do a quick overview of the Excel workbook. Again, this is not a PowerPoint course. This is definitely a hands-on course. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to be learning here, we are actually going to be applying. Okay. So what does Excel look like overall? So here is what Excel looks like when you first open your Excel workbook. Okay, you're going to have the cover, okay, where you can open a blank workbook. If you don't want to open a blank workbook, you can click on business, okay, and then you'll see all the business workbooks that Excel has to offer. You can click on industry. You can go to education if you want some education workbooks, whatever the case may be as it relates to exactly what it is that you're looking for. Given that this is a Excel class from scratch, we're going to start with a blank workbook. So what is a workbook? Okay, a workbook is essentially exactly what you think. It's a book with a bunch of sheets in them. So this is a workbook, right? Think about if you have a physical workbook. In your workbook, you have many sheets, right? So if you look at the bottom right here, you will notice that it says sheet 1. So what does that essentially mean? What it's basically saying to me is the following. Okay, I can have as many sheets as I would like to have in that workbook. So let me highlight just so you guys can see. Right here is my sheet 1, right? You could see that it says sheet 1 right here, right? And if I come to the bottom of this, I can add sheet 2, I can add sheet 3, 4, etc. Right? I can add as many sheets as I want to add to this workbook. Again, remember, a workbook has many worksheets inside of it. So let's talk about what we have here. All right. So as you can tell, we can add sheets. All right. And just like I can add the sheets, I can name them. So if I was to right click on this sheet, I can rename it, let's say, grades. All right. If I'm creating grades here, I can rename this one to a report if I have a report for a department, or I can rename this to HR if this is HR related, or I can rename this IT if this is IT related. So I can name my sheets whatever it is that I would like to name the sheets. Just like I could name the sheets, I can change the color of the sheets. I can change this to yellow. I can right click on this sheet again, change the tab color to green. Whatever different colors you want to apply to the sheets, you can actually do that, right? The reason you probably want to apply different colors to the sheets is because it's really going to help you remember, oh, okay, I know I colored it orange, so whenever I see orange, I know what it means. Whenever I see yellow, I know exactly what yellow means, okay? So we're starting to learn a little bit about our workbook. We know a workbook is essentially a book with many worksheets. So what do I have here? The first thing you need to understand and learn is exactly how Excel works and functions. If I click on cell A1, you will notice at the top right hand corner here, in the box, it's showing me that I currently have cell A1 selected. If I click on cell A2, it will show me A2 is selected. If I click on cell A3, it will show me that A3 is selected. If I click on A4 or B1, you notice that corresponding cell is also showing in my spreadsheet, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about a few things. Okay, so right now I'm highlighting this. Okay, what I just highlighted for you to see here is known as a row. Okay, so this is a row. Whenever you see someone highlight this section, it's a row. If you don't know what a row is, just think about basketball, right? When you go to a basketball game, a football game, or a soccer game, you sit in rows, right? So rows go directly across. Then you have columns, okay? So columns essentially go up and down, okay? So your columns are what goes up and down. So I'll change the text around too, just so you guys can see exactly what it is that I am talking about, so there's not too much confusion, so to speak, right? So whenever you see something going up and down, okay, like this, it's a column and rows go across. Let me move this one here so that way people can see, right? So what I highlight here, this is referred to as a column, and this section here is referred to as a row. And the reason you need to understand that is because we're going to be working in our columns and we're going to be working in our rows. Again, columns go up and down, rows go across. So please make sure you remember that. There are also many other additional things that you need to really understand and learn about Excel. Okay, if you go to the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see the different page layouts, right? If I click on normal, this is what my normal sheet look like. If I click on the page layout will change. It will split into two, okay? And if I click on the page break preview, it will break the page into a preview for me. Given that I have nothing written in it, there's really nothing to currently see. So I'm going to go back to my normal view to view my spreadsheet. If you look over further to the right hand corner, you're going to see the zoom in and zoom out. So I can use the minus sign to zoom out, okay? And I can use the plus sign to zoom in, right? And that's really a matter of preference. If you're like me and you can't see that well, you definitely want to zoom in a little bit so you can see exactly what's happening to your spreadsheet a little bit cleaner, so to speak, all right? The most important thing that we're going to spend most of our time talking about and learning, because we're going to learn some formulas today, is the ribbon. Okay, so Excel also has what's known as a ribbon. If you're familiar with Microsoft products, you will become a guru with the ribbon. So let me highlight this ribbon so everyone can see exactly what it is that I am talking about. Okay, so this is known as your ribbon. If you look in your ribbon, okay, you have File, which we're going to talk about. You have a File tab. You have a Home tab. Okay, so I'll circle the File tab so you can see it. You have a Home tab. Okay. You have an Insert tab, right? And then you have a Page Layout tab, right? You also have a Formulas tab. You have a Data tab. You have a Review tab. You have a View tab. And you also have a Developer tab. If you watch all 10 parts of this series, you will know what all of these tabs do and exactly what it is that they are used for. Okay, so let's continue and exit of the tab. All right, so let's take a look. When I click home, you notice I have all of these different things that I can see here, right? When I click home, I can cut, I can paste, I can copy, I can use the format painter, I can use the different font, or I can bold things, italicize things, I can add a border, I can add background color, I can change the text color, etc. Okay, I can even change the alignment, I can wrap text, merge text, etc. I have the number section where I can apply different formats of numbers. I have conditional formatting, I have format tables, and I can even change the style of the particular cells that I want to create and add things to. So let's actually create a little sample to see exactly what's going to happen. I even have cells, okay? So in my cells, I can change a lot of things. I have my editing tools that I can utilize. Majority of our time is going to be spent between the home and the formulas tab, right? And we're going to learn a lot of these formulas. The goal is to go through at least 200 formulas with you guys so you can understand exactly what it is meant. Let's use the styles section so we can see how we can apply a style, okay? So let's title this NBA Championship. Hopefully I spelled championship right, okay? So you notice that I wrote NBA Championship in cell A1. However, oops, look at what happened. NBA Championship seems as if it's running in cell B1 as well. However, when I click on cell B1, you notice that there is nothing there. Why is that? That is because the text that I wrote is too big for cell A1. So in order to fix that and solve that issue, all I actually have to do is double click. Once I double click, you will notice, right, that NBA Championship the text is wrapped in that cell, all right? So I'll do that one more time because I think I might have done it a little bit too fast, so some of you might have missed it. So NBA Championship, the text is a little bit too long. If I hover between cell A and B and I double click, it fills through all the way, okay? So that is how you can fix that issue if you ever run into issues. So let's say I wanted to write my name, Douglas Tondrew, okay? And I notice that it's going into cell D. To fix that, I hover between cells D and C, or C and D, double click, and it will wrap and autofill so that way I don't run into issues with the text, all right? So those are some of the key basic things that you want to remember. So let's talk about the cell styles and how I can apply that, right? So I wrote NBA Championship here. However, I want it to run from cells A, B, C, D, E. I want to create some type of a header, right? Because I want my cell to look a little bit presentable so that way I can have something that's professionally designed and well done for the most part. So how can I fix that? In order to do that, I'm simply going to click on cell A. I'm going to keep my finger on my mouse and I'm going to highlight cell B, C, D, and E. Once I have highlighted cell A, I'll do it again just so you guys can see I clicked on cell A. I keep my finger on my mouse. I go to B, C, D, and E. Once I have successfully done that, I am going to click on Merge and Center. So what Merge and Center does is it takes the text that I have written and it merges it with cells A, B, C, D, and E. So now I have what's known as a header. However, it's really not a true header until I add a style to it that makes it a header. So I'm going to click on my drop-down menu and I'm going to add a heading. I'll do a heading. Heading one's fine, okay? So now that I've added a heading to it, I now have what's known as a header, right? And it has a heading of 1, right? So your styles are different types of headings and different types of font families that you can add in formats to really give it the style to represent and show exactly what you would like to appear and display. So let's say, I wanted to also add a background color to NBA Championship to really reflect it. All I actually have to do is hover over where my paint bucket is with the fill color and actually add a black background color. Right now that I have the black background color, if I want to change the font or the alignment of NBA Championship, I can actually just click on hover over alignment and I can even change the color from blue to white, right? Because white shows a little bit better when I am using a black background, okay? So that's really a matter of preference. If you wanted to kind of know how to do that, you will see exactly how I was able to do that. So let's talk about the NBA Championship a little bit, right? Right now, I think we have Cleveland and Golden State that's going to the championship. But this is an Excel class, so we're not really focused on that. We're focused on the numbers and how to analyze the numbers to make some pretty cool and legitimate predictions. So let's write a few things down. So let's do Kyrie Irving. I think that's how you spell his name. I might be mistaken. I don't really spend too much time watching the NBA that much, but I think that's how you spell Kyrie Irving. So hopefully I am accurate in my spelling. If I'm not, forgive me. Okay. So we're gonna write a few names of a few players to begin. All right. So we have Kyrie Irving. Then let's say we have LeBron James, right? So we're gonna write LeBron James. And then we have Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry. I don't know if it's Stefan or Stephen, but I'm sure my wife always corrects me in it, but I'll figure it out one day or another. Okay. And then we have a few other players that's going to definitely be playing for the most part. I'm trying to think of what some of their names are. Okay. So we have Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, uh, Stephen Curry. So first we're going to write names here. Let's do a few things. Let's write names. Let's write team. Let's do PPG, which will stand for points per game, right? So we're just going to do PPG. We're going to do RPG, rebounds per game. And then we'll do APG, which will stand for assist per game, okay? So points per game, rebounds per game, assist per game. And a lot of these numbers are going to be made up, so please don't take these numbers to the bank. Let's add another cell style here. Let's add a cell style of a heading 4, okay? And we'll add a little accent to it so that way it can kind of be a little bit more presentable. So Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Stephen Curry. Let's do who else is on the team? All right, let me think here. Then you have Draymond Green. So let's do Draymond Green, right? Again, I'm not going to go too deep into this because we want to make sure we spend some time. Then we have Kevin Durant. We have Kevin Love. And then we have we'll do J.R. Smith. We should do one more, huh? No, I think 9's fine enough, right? I think that should be good for now. So let me teach you guys a few tricks before we go on. Okay, so we know that Kyrie Irving is on Cleveland, okay, because they play for the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Let's say all of these team members that I wrote here actually played for Cleveland Cavaliers. Some people will actually go through and write Cleveland Cavaliers all the way through, right, and spend a lot of time doing a lot of that. We will not actually have to do that in Excel, okay? Excel has a beautiful function known as the fill handle. So what the fill handle actually allows for us to be able to do is it allows us to do what's known as fill handle some cells, okay? And I know you're probably wondering, what am I doing? How am I doing what I'm doing here? I'll actually show you exactly what I'm doing. And the reason that I'm doing this like that is because I want to make sure I show you exactly what I'm doing so it works in a cohesive way without causing too many issues, right? So how do I move these names around without having to move them around? So here's Kyrie Irving. If I hover between the cell, I actually get to drag it wherever I want. I can bring Kyrie Irving to the right, okay? And I hover over it, I can bring it to the left, or I can bring it back to where it belongs. So the way you do that is simply by clicking on a name that you like, hovering between the cell until you see the four corners that looks like a compass or arrows. Once you have those arrows, you can actually move that name wherever you would like it to go. So if you made a mistake, you don't have to delete it. You can actually just move that information that is inside of the cell simply by clicking on it, hovering until you get the four corners. Once you get that, you can move the name wherever you would like to move it. All right, you can do the same with a bunch of them. Hover, again, move them all down the same exact way you would like to. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 players for Cleveland. Let's add for Golden State as well. So let's add Klay Thompson. I don't know if that's how you spell his name, but hopefully I didn't mess up his name too bad. Okay, so let me add Cleveland here. Okay, so let's get back to what I wanted to show you. So Excel has a beautiful function that is known as the fill handle. How does the fill handle work? If I actually click on Cleveland the way I wrote it, right here is Cleveland, and hover to the bottom right hand corner, I can actually fill handle Cleveland all the way down without having to write Cleveland a bunch of times. Okay, that is known as the fill handle. I can even do that for the numbers, right? So I'm going to write 1, right? I can use the fill handle and write 1 all the way down. Right? Let's say I had 2 rebounds per game. I can write 2, hover to the bottom right hand corner of 2, and fill handle 2 all the way down. Let's say they average 5 points per game. I can write 5, hover to the bottom right hand corner of where I have 5, and fill handle the number 5 all the way down. All right, that is known as the fill handle functionality. So the fill handle allows for you to automatically fill in a given text or number based on a particular pattern. So I'll do it one more time. So knowing that all of these players here play for Cleveland, all I simply did was I highlight the information that I want. I go to the bottom right hand corner until I get the plus sign to show, and I simply fill handle it all the way down. Okay, that is known as the fill handle. It also works across. So if I have Klay Thompson here, I want to fill handle Klay Thompson all the way across. I can hover to the bottom and actually write Klay Thompson all the way across in all of my cells. So the fill handle is a pretty cool functionality that I can use to complete a lot of work in a quick amount of time. So I'm going to do it here again, Golden State, right, because that's who they play for. Well, yeah, Golden State's fine. I was going to write Warriors, but Golden State's fine, right? And I can actually fill handle Golden State all the way down as well and get some pretty cool and nifty results, right? And watch how quick I can actually do this if without having to do too much of the writing, right? Look, boom. Okay, Golden State. I obviously have to write that because it doesn't currently exist, right? Once I do that, hover, boom, and here I go. I have Golden State written nice and neat, right? So that is how you can use the fill handle functionality. Again, I'll show it to you one more time for the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3, right? So watch what I'm going to do different this time. So before I showed you how you could fill handle 1, how you could fill handle 2, and then how you could fill handle 3, right? What if I didn't want it to go 1, 1, 1, 1, or 2, 2, 2, 2, or 3, 3, 3, 3? What if I wanted to actually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? You can actually do that. Excel has that built-in functionality where if you hover again to the bottom right-hand corner, you hold on Control, you can actually make the numbers automatically jump to the next one, right? So now I have the number 9. If I hover to the bottom again, I can go all the way down. So that is fill handling a number but plus 1, right? So you're fill handling, but you're adding 1 to that number. So let's take a look at how that works, okay? So let's start all over. So all I do to accomplish what I just showed you is I hover to the bottom right-hand corner, okay? I hold on to Control, and I fill handle. But when I hold on to Control, you notice what happens. That plus sign that I have for the fill handle, when I press Control, right, it adds an additional plus sign to it. You see that plus sign. So now I fill handle all the way down. Watch what happens if I don't see the plus sign. If I don't see the plus sign and I just fill handle it, okay, I only get the same number. However, when I have the plus sign, right, and I fill handle it, it follows that particular structure for me, okay? So that is how you use the fill handle to accomplish a lot of cool things in your spreadsheet, right? So let's take a look at our presentation to make sure we're on track here, right? So I did a workbook overview. I did a worksheet overview, right? I didn't introduce you to Excel formulas yet, but we are about to get there right now, just to show you that we are on track and doing exactly what I wanted us to do, okay? So let's say points per game for each player, right? Let's make this up a little bit, right? Let's learn how to kind of accomplish some pretty cool and nifty things in our spreadsheet. So let's say Kyrie Irving's averaging 25.8 points per game. Let's say LeBron's averaging 30.5 points per game. Let's say J.R. Smith is averaging 12.5 points per game. Kevin Love, we'll say, is averaging 19.7 points per game. Klay Thompson's averaging 17.5 points per game. Draymond Green, 23.5 points per game. Kevin Durant, 29.7. And Steph Curry, 32.5. Okay, so I'm writing these in manually, and we're going to get into how to format numbers and cells to do all kind of cool things as the course goes on. Again, this is part one of a 10-part Excel course that I will be doing with all of you. Okay, so this information that I'm showing you here is for your first lab, so make sure you're following exactly what I'm kind of showing you here. Okay, so rebounds. For rebounds, we could do 1.8. LeBron will do 9. JR will do 2.1. Kevin Love will definitely do 8.5. Klay Thompson, 1.8. Draymond Green will do 11.5. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll copy the same one because we know they don't really get rebounds that much. Kevin Durant, 7.5. Steph Curry will do 5.15. Again, all of these numbers, I'm making them up, okay? So, average points per game, we'll keep them the same as, we'll drop the number a little bit. Points per game, average points per game, so we'll do 22.5, 28.56, 8.5, 15.75. Klay Thompson will do 15.7. Draymond will do 20.5. Again, all of these numbers are being made up. They're not real, so please don't think that these are real numbers. Again, we'll do 30.1. Okay, so now that I have this spreadsheet that I'm designing, right, it's starting to look a little bit nifty, all right? And I'll change the title of this sheet here, right, because I'm working right now in the IT sheet. So I want to make sure that I rename this to NBA. All right, so I want to make sure that I reflect exactly what that I have here. So I'll title this NBA data to kind of reflect that. So now that I have NBA data, let's do a few additional things that I want to add here. Okay, so I want to show you guys a few additional tricks so you guys can kind of be aware of exactly what's happening for the most part, right? So I'm going to add underneath here, I'm going to do a totals section. Okay, I'm going to do a sum section. I'm going to do an average section. Then I'm going to do a min section, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all the way to the bottom. and I'm going to click on the drop-down menu, and I'm going to add a cell style of total. Pretty cool, right? That I can add a cell style of total here, right? And all of your cell styles differ drastically, so if you don't have it, just pick one that closely resembles exactly what I asked you to do in the lab. It doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate. As long as you pick a cell style, I am perfectly fine with what you selected. Now that we have this, we have to obviously learn how to use and apply all of these formulas. Let me delete these extra sheets that I created so that way people are not confused. And as the course goes on, we're going to be working with a lot more sheets. So now I have my NBA championship table that I kind of created, which looks pretty cool, right? So I have the names of all the players, the team that they played for, the points per game, the rebounds per game, and the average points per game for the most part, right? So what I'm going to introduce you now, okay, is I'm going to introduce you to Excel formulas. So how do we do a formula in Excel? How does it work? And how do I know exactly what I am doing? So there are many ways to do formulas in Excel. So first, let's start by adding up the points per game for each player. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can add the points per game for each player. The final way is the way I would prefer that you do it. So the final way is the accurate way, okay? But they all work the same exact way, and I'm going to show you why you want to usually use the first one. The third one. So whenever I write a formula in Excel, the first thing I always want to do is I want to start with an equal sign, okay? So the equal sign basically triggers what's known as the f of x, the function, okay? That is why I said I'm going to introduce you to average, min, and max functions, right? Because there are functions that exist within Excel, so you want to make sure you follow that functionality. So once I write equals, I can click on and specify what I would like to do with all of them. So I can click on cell C3, I can put a plus sign in front of it. I can click on cell C4 plus, okay, C5 plus, C6 plus, C7 plus, C8 plus, C9 plus, C12, okay, C10, and I will get 191 points, right? Pretty cool, works, does the job, but kind of seems like it's a lot of work, right? And that's not really the way I want to do it. So that's how you can point and do the formula. So you can point at the number or the cell that you want to add, so C3 plus C4, etc. And one thing I want you to remember, because I notice people always get this confused, is when you have C3 selected, what you're actually selecting is the number inside of it, but the number is represented by a cell, right? So C3, the information that's being added is the 25. In C4, what you're adding is 30.5, right? So now that I have that, I have 191, and I can, go ahead and write the same number down for the rest, but that is the way that I don't want you to do it. Here's another way you could do it. Again, I'm summing up for all of these sections. I can put the equal sign again, and I can write sum, okay? And I can press tab. You always want to make sure you press tab after you write a formula. So sum stands for summing up. So I'm going to sum up the numbers that I'm looking for. So I can click on cell D3, put a comma, cell D4, comma, D5, comma, D6, 7, 8, comma, D9, comma, D10. And when I press enter, I will also get the results that I'm looking for, right? So it's an equal sum, right? But what happens if something happened to change, or I added more cells and it's not selected, right? There's not much I can do to really get the answer here. So it's really not an ideal solution that I would use to solve that problem. Okay, so it works, but it's not really the way I want you doing it, right? I don't want you writing C3 plus C4 plus C5 plus C5, excuse me, plus C7 plus C8. It takes way too long. It works, but it seems like if my numbers were to grow, I would have some issues here, okay? So let's see the accurate way that I actually want you summing things up. So we're going to write equal sum, tab. We're going to highlight cells E3 all the way to E10. Okay. Now that is the accurate way that you need to do it. Okay. So when I write it like this, whenever a change occurs, it will automatically keep up and pull it for me. Okay. However, the way I have it here, with each cell, it takes way too long, and if a change happens to one of the cells, yes, it will reflect. So let's say I was to actually come in here and change 30.5 to 33. It would show that, but if I was to add a new cell, I actually would not be able to figure out what's going on. Or let's say I moved and removed that particular cell, it would be very difficult for it to figure that out, right? So when I remove it, it can tell, but it's not really the ideal way. So you always want to do equal sum, and you want to highlight the first cell all the way down to the last cell. So E3 colon, which means through E10. So this is the accurate way that you want to sum up all of your numbers. So whenever you're summing information up, that is how you want to do it. And funny enough, I wrote sum, which means the same as total, right? Because when I'm summing things up, it's the same as getting the total. Okay, I'm going to put this in just so you guys can kind of see and not cause confusion, right? So now that we know how to do this accurately, let's actually apply it to the rest of them, okay? So again, we're going to do equal sum, tab, we're going to highlight the cells that we would like to sum up, and then we're going to press enter. And that is how you can sum up cells accurately in Excel. Now, if you wanted to sum up points per game, rebounds per game, and average points per game, all right, you can actually use the skill that I just showed you before, the fill handle. You can hover to the bottom right, go all the way through, and fill handle all of that information through, right? Pretty cool way to getting things done, right? This is like a commercial today. However, there's more. You actually don't even have to go through and write all of this information in. There's actually a shortcut. Dun, dun, dun. Shortcut. Okay, and that shortcut can be used to sum things up. It is Alt plus equal. Okay, so Alt plus equal is a cool shortcut that you can use to sum information up in Excel without having to write the formula. So if I write Alt equals, it automatically sums up information for me, and I can fill handle all of it, right? Shortcut Alt equals, okay? Alt shortcut, I'm going to write for summing, for adding cells, okay? So Alt equals is a shortcut that you definitely want to remember, right? Because it can solve a lot of pretty nifty and cool things for you, right? So you definitely want to remember exactly how to use that, right? Adding so it's a shortcut for sum. All right, so please remember that. I'm going to show you guys a lot of shortcuts throughout the duration of this course. So try to remember some of them, because they definitely will be very helpful as we kind of go through majority of the things that I will be doing in this course. Okay, so shortcut for sum is Alt equal, right? So now let's learn how to sum up and get the maximum number, or who has the highest percentage per game. So to do that, we're going to write equals. Again, you always want to write equal, because equals is a function that turns on, equals is what you always want to write in the formula to activate a formula, right? And you always want to write the equal in the formula bar, right? So I'm writing it in the cell, which works, but you always want to select the cell you want, go to the formula bar, and write equal, okay? So to get the highest possible number for points per game, okay, based on each player, I would write equals max, okay? And I'm going to highlight all of the points per game, and only the maximum or the highest number or points per game is going to show up in 32.5. And who is that? It's Steph Curry, right? And you can see that he has the highest points per game based on this data that I have here. And if I want to get the highest rebounds per game, average points per game, I can actually simply fill handle all the way down, right? And it does the same exact thing with my formula, right? And when you double click on it, you will notice that it's going to show you the formula, and it's going to show you exactly the cells that is being summed up. That is known as the range finder, right? So the range is E3 to E10. So I can see the range that is being utilized here for the cell. Now let's do average. How do I get the average points per game, rebounds per game, average points per game, right? It kind of sounds like a tongue twister. I would simply, again, go to my formula bar, write equals. Then I'm going to write average. And I'm going to fill handle from points per game, press enter, and I will get the average number or average points per game. And I can once again fill handle all the way down, and I will get the average points per game. And if you have too many decimal points and you don't want them, you can actually just make sure you have home selected, hover over under the number sign where you see the decimal. So if you hover over it, says increase decimal, and over here it says decrease. So if I click on it, I can remove the decimal places and leave 1 or 2, right? And if you obviously increase or decrease the decimal, what Excel will do is it will round the number to the nearest thousands, tenths, or hundred thousands, depending on what you have. All right, so in our case, it's going to take 23 rounded to 24. 5 would become 6. 21 would be 21.2 because 3 you don't really round up, okay? So if I remove it, right, it rounds it up. But if I add the decimals, it keeps it to the nearest decimal point. So remember that when you're doing your sheets. And as we get deeper into the course, the cents and the percent, the point does matter drastically. And I'll talk about what that is. Again, to get the minimum or the lowest number, same philosophy. I would write equals min, right? And I would highlight the numbers I'm looking to get the minimum result for, right? And if I fill handle, once again, you will notice that the lowest number here is 12.5, 1.8, and 8.5. So let's see, 12.5, yep, JR. 1.8, who has that? Yep, Kyrie Irving. 8.5, average points per game. Again, it's JR, right? So these are some pretty cool and nifty things that you can kind of do in your spreadsheet, okay? So I just showed you how to kind of enter formulas. I introduced you to formulas, and I showed you how to enter formulas using the point mode, simply by using your mouse to click, and simply how to enter them using your keyboard by clicking on the cell, putting the equal sign, and specifying the formula that you would like to use, right? So that is how you apply the sum, average, max, and min functions in Excel, right? It's a pretty cool basic formulas that everyone should know when using Excel, because believe it or not, these formulas are used a lot throughout Excel, and in order to continue on to the next portion of the course, you definitely need to have a good understanding of applying the sum, average, max, and min function, because we're going to build on that a lot for the course, right? So now that we just did all that, let's actually learn how to verify the formulas. Again, if you want to verify the formulas, you could simply click on them, and you'll see C3 through C10, right? If you click back on this section here, you'll see D3 through D11, okay? E3 through E11, right? However, let's say a mistake was made, right? How can I tell the mistake that I made and what it is, okay? So another way you can verify your formula is by holding or pressing Control tilde, okay? So Control tilde will actually show you exactly what formula you have in each cell or in each row is, okay? If you don't know what Control tilde is, let me actually write it here, okay? So tilde is CTRL plus this little squiggly guy here that you see that I created, okay? So that is tilde, right? Pretty cool name to have. Usually confuses most people. If you've never heard of it, don't feel bad. I didn't either, okay? So tilde is actually literally this little thing here that I just kind of wrote, right? So this is tilde. This is tilde, little squiggly bracket, okay? So that is tilde, all right? So to get or to review your formulas, okay? Pros review formula. Okay, so to review your formulas, literally all you have to do is press Control tilde and you will be able to review your formulas. So I'll do it again, Control tilde. Okay, why is this useful? Let's say, I'm not getting the exact sum that I wanted. I can actually press Control tilde and check to see which formula did I use to get the answer that I got to verify, right? So Control tilde will show me that. Once you've written Control tilde, let's say you're like, oh, I want to go back, just press Control tilde again, and you go back again. Tilde is simply this little bracket here that you have, which is usually right above your tab sign and under the escape sign, okay? So that is how you can verify your formula using what's known as the range finder. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to check your worksheet for any spelling errors. To do that, you're going to click on Review, okay? You're going to click on ABC Spelling, right? And literally, clicking on ABC Spelling will check your worksheet and tell you if there's any spelling errors, all right? And here, it's telling me I spelled Cleveland wrong, and I did, right? So Cleveland, I wrote Cleveland, so I'm going to say change all, right? LeBron, it's saying I spelled LeBron wrong. It's with a capital B. Is that correct? It probably is. So I'm going to say change all, okay? So now, sorry about that annoying noise, right? It says spell check complete. You're good to go, right? My spreadsheet looks a whole lot better now because Cleveland is spelled correctly, right? And I purposely did that in the beginning because I want to make sure that I show you how the checking spelling works in your spreadsheet, all right? So now let's do the last and final thing. Let's make this look pretty and insert what's known as a clustered cylinder chart. To insert a chart in your spreadsheet, you're simply going to highlight your entire table that we just created, right? So we just highlighted the entire table. Then we're going to click on Insert, okay? And then we're going to get charts. So in charts, you can just click on the charts and all of the different charts are going to show up. So to get there, you go on the charts, you find that little arrow at the bottom, you click on it, okay? So right now we have a clustered column. We're going to click all charts and we're going to switch. We're looking for a clustered, 3D clustered cylinder, right? So it doesn't really have a clustered cylinder, but we're going to actually make it. So we're going to stick to the 3D clustered column for now. Okay, so I'm going to click on it and it's going to give me a couple options here that I don't really like. Let me see what the recommended charts are. So we'll do the clustered column based on the recommended chart. I'm going to click OK. So right now, I have a 3D clustered column chart, right? However, I want to be mindful of this chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move and bring this chart over to a new sheet. So to do that, I'm going to right-click on the chart and I'm going to select Move Chart, right? And I'm going to move that chart to a new sheet, right? And I'm going to title this new sheet NBA Charts. I'm going to click OK. So now, whenever you go to NBA Charts, okay, you're going to see my chart. When you go to NBA Data, you're going to see the data. So how do I make this become a 3D custom column, right? Let's fix a few things about this chart first. First, I don't like what a legion is. I like my legion usually to be to the right of the page. So let me actually move that over here. So to do that, right click, change chart type. No, I don't want to change the chart type, data labels. First, let me change this over. Okay, so to change some of this stuff in this chart, all right, let's actually add a title to our chart first. Let's call this NBA championship chart, right? So then I'm also going to do a few things with this. I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger so that way I can see exactly what's going on here, right? And then I'm going to do quick layout. I want to change the layout of a few things of the chart. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to bring the legion to the right. So all I did was go to quick layout to move the legion. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger too. So I'm going to change the font of this so that way I can see exactly what it is that's being looked at. Okay, axis title. Okay, so what is this representing? So instead of axis title, let's change this to points, NBA points. Okay, then you know what? Let's actually change Control A. Control A allows you to select all. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Now if we wanted to actually change these to a clustered column, we can actually simply click on them, go to where it says the 3D series options, nope, and fill 3D format, soft edges. Actually, I want to click on one of them. Yeah, you usually have to there usually lets you, but I guess it's not going to work for me today, huh? I'm trying to actually change this from the way we have it now to a, so I guess it's not letting me, guys. All right, because I wanted to change it to a design chart type. Let's see here. Clustered column, stack, 100%, 3D. Let's switch it over to 3D. Yeah, I don't like these 3Ds though. That's not what I'm looking to do. Because I don't want it to be all crooked. I can't, nobody can see this. Okay, there we go. All right. So now that I have it like this, let's see if it'll let me do it here. Perfect. Okay. So now you have to select 3D instead of the regular clustered column. Okay. So now I can actually come in and I can change them all to cylinders, right? Instead of box. That's kind of what I wanted to do, was switch it over to cylinders, right? And it's kind of starting to look a little bit more pretty, so to speak. And if you want, right, so you can see this is Kyrie Irving's information. Again, you can do quick layout. You can change the layout again, right? You can make the font a little bit bigger for this section. Same philosophy here. Make the font a little bit bigger, right? And make this a little bit bigger too, right? So you can do a lot of cool things for your chart, right? So now I have my chart. Although they all have the same color because it's points per game, rebounds per games, right? I can actually see, let me change this title here to NBA players. So all I'm doing now is I'm making the font a little bit bigger, right? So I just did that here. So as you can see, right, I have a pretty professionally well-presented chart, right? Again, this is not accurate by any means, all right? We just made all of this information up. So here is my chart, here is my data, and I pulled this data here, right, from randomly we drew it, and here is my NBA chart. So here is basically kind of what I was able to create in my spreadsheet overall to kind of accomplish some pretty nifty, cool, and legitimate stuff here, okay? So good luck on the lab. If you have any questions, email me. Uh, Subscribe to the channel that you see here because a lot of the lectures and stuff about Excel I'm going to be posting here. And I'm also going to be posting this stuff on Bridges for you guys to review. Email me directly, comment in the forum or on the YouTube channel, and I will gladly respond, or you can contact me directly and I'll respond as well. But this is basically all the information you'll need for your first lab. The key is making sure too that your chart's presentable, it's neat, that I can read it, it looks like it's professionally done, and really accomplishing a lot of that for me, okay? And once you've done all of that, you should be pretty much fine and good to go with your Excel spreadsheet, okay, for your first assignment. So let's just review the agenda to make sure I went through everything that we kind of just did. I introduced you to the workbook overview. We did a worksheet overview. I introduced you to Excel formulas. We learned how to enter formulas using the keyboard, how to enter formulas using the point mode, how to apply the sum, average, max, and min functions, how to verify formulas using the range finder, how to check the spelling in a worksheet, and how to create a clustered cylinder chart. Okay, I'm also going to share this spreadsheet that I did with you as a sample for the class. All right, so here are all the things we did. All right, and that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please comment, email me directly, or comment on the YouTube channel, subscribe, let me know what you guys think about the course, and we will continue posting a lot of new lectures about new things. Again, this is a data introduction to Excel, data analysis with Excel, so we're going to be doing a lot of analyzing data and introducing new concepts utilizing Excel in the class. Again, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the class and that you learned a lot. Thank you. Have a good day.